Hi Booktube and happy Friday. It is a hot day here in Portland, the hottest day of the year so far at 88 degrees. I think I brought the hot sunny weather of California with me when I came back from my long vacation. I was in California for a wedding and I visited family and friends for 2.5 weeks, right about. And along the way, I went to some bookstores. There was I want to say it's like the National Bookstore Day that took place one of the Saturdays I was gone. And for the last couple of years, I have been wanting to go to Seattle because there's something like a bingo board or like a map of all the bookstores there that are participating in this event because there's so many bookstores there that they warrant something like that. So I've wanted to do that, but unfortunately, like the wedding, wedding of a friend versus the bookstore day, I had to go with that, the wedding. But I did manage to go to quite a few bookstores on one of the Saturday of that event. I was traveling, so I got several books, and I feel like I did very good because I went to, I don't even know, probably 10 or more bookstores. I didn't always buy something, and when I did, I got very few, so that in the 2.5 weeks of being on holiday, I got less than two full bags. I would say one, yeah, half of one bag and three-fourths of another. So I'm doing very good because like one of my goals is to buy less books this year, and yeah, so good there. And so I don't have a bookmark for all the bookstores I went to, but I'm going to try and remember to let you know like my thoughts and on some of these bookstores. So the first one is one that gave me a card, and this is the book Mine in Cottage Grove, Oregon. They gave me a little card here. It's illustrated and there's a cat. There is a cat in this bookstore that I didn't get to meet because there was an art show happening that night after hours, and so there's like local artists will go to all these different stores and you can browse like the books and all that after hours, and so they had to put the cat up for that. But she did give me a postcard, which was really nice, so I could meet the cat, and there they are. I didn't catch the name and she told me I can't remember, but yeah, there's a cat in this bookstore, and it's a very cute shop. There is like half the store are books, and the other half are like a nursery for like plants and candles and lotions and things like that. Like very like much of an independent bookstore. But for that place, I only got one book. This is Linda Hasselstrom, Land Circle, Writings Collected from the Land. And this is an author I've mentioned quite a few times in the past. I've been working through her books as I come upon them. And this is about a South Dakota rancher, like one of those like generational, it's passed down ranching lifestyle. So I do like those kind of books. So let's see, I got that one. And then the next one, I didn't get a bookmark, but I kept the receipt. So I knew where I was. And this is Browser's Bookstore in Albany, Oregon. And I got several books. This was the first store I stopped at after leaving Portland. So I was trying not to go, even have to spend too much time there because I did need to, get down the road. And for this one, this was the National Bookstore Day. And so they were having a sale. No, it was the day before. And they were having a sale, and so everything was half off. So I just went to the nature section and browsed and got quite a few books at this one. The first one is My Wilderness, East to Katahdin by William O. Douglas. This is an author. I recently purchased one of his books when I went to Powell's like a month or two ago, but I love these illustrated covers with the raccoon and the I'm used to like catnip for me. These I think came out in like the 60s or 70s. 1968. So yeah, I always try and get these like, this is kind of like a mass market I do appreciate. Okay. Big Sam by Sam Churchill. I was surprised to find this book because I read another book by this author, or by a family member of this author, like a couple months ago, and even that one didn't have hardly any reviews on Goodreads. It's not like it was a big seller or anything, but it's like more like a local history or biography, and so I think that's why like I was able to find this one. But this is about working in the lumber yards in Oregon and small towns, like cutting down all the trees. And on the back is the author with the gigantic his gigantic lumber shoes. So like, I thought it would be cool, interesting to read local history. This is he was born in 1911 in Astoria, Oregon, which is like the very corner of Oregon, along the Pacific coast in the Columbia River there. So happy to find that one. Let's see here. Silton Seasons from the Diary of a Countryman by R.D. Simmons. And it is a little bit worn, but I think it was just $1 or $2 since it was half off. Yeah, it was $1.50. So I don't mind, you know, worn covers or anything like that. But this is, let's see, where it takes place. He was a cowboy, game warden, and rancher in Canada's vast heartland in Silton, Saskatchewan. Let's see. The Natural World of Louise Dickinson Rich. And this is an author I really enjoy because the first book I read by her was her most famous. This is We Took to the Woods. And this is about her and her husband going off to the wilds of Maine and when they were pretty young and, you know, starting their life there. And so ever since that book, I've been looking for, anytime I like look in the nature section, I'll try and see if I can find books by her. And I've only found one other one. So now I have one about the animals in her area. A Mouse is a Miracle Enough by Dan Guthrie, illustrated by Betsy Martin. This is another book that looks, you know, quite old. But here's the author and then the illustrator here. Let's see if we can find some illustrations. There's some paw prints and some birds. Some kind of lizard. So yeah, I like books that have, especially nature books with like illustrations throughout. And this book came out, let's see, in 1982. The Living Wilderness by seen by Rutherford G. Montgomery. And here's the author. Let's see. Okay, yeah, same as the other one. This is the illustrator and then the author. Let's see. Best loved nature writers in America. He's one of the best loved nature writers in America. Written more than 100 books. Okay. Carcajo, Yellow Eyes, Big Red, Pecan of the Shadow. I don't recognize any of those. Let me know if you know this author, Rutherford G. Montgomery, because I have not. When did this one come out? 64. So maybe that's why it's like, but this one does have illustrations as well. I love nature books, older nature books like this. Oh, there's actually photos as well. That's kind of cool. Let's see, where is this one taking place? He spent his childhood on ranches in Montana and North Dakota. Does it tell me where the photos are? Like, what's the focus of this one? Because I like knowing, like, with nature books, you know, where are we spending our time? But this seems to be, like, all over the place. So, yeah, one of those, like, maybe overview of the United States. There's a couple more from this bookstore. Clabbered Dirt, Sweet Grass by Gary Pawson, a children's author I think a lot of you would, you know, recognize. And then this is with illustrations by his, paintings by his wife. And I knew she was a painter, but I hadn't seen any of her work, so I was interested to see the artwork here. So let's see if I can find some here. So there's like glossy pages throughout the book. So that'll be fun to see, you know, their collaboration with Joe. This is a book by him that I haven't read. I have read many books on his that he's rewrote so many, and often I'll find them at little free libraries, especially his children's books. And if I haven't read it, then I'll just pick it up because some of them are pretty slim. And then he has like he's like more of his like memoir and autobiography. So this one, let's see. I didn't tell you exactly what it's about, but you know, it's let's see. It's with echoes of Dillard, Thoreau, and Whitman. So this might be his like reminiscences of nature. And so this is a lyrical tribute to a vanishing way of life. Never before has such a farm story been told. Okay, so it says Life on the Farm. And then the last one from this bookstore is a book I haven't opened. It's Long Day's Journey, the Steamboat and Stagecoach Era in the Northern West by Carlos Arnaldo Suarez. And this was half off. It's still in plastic, so it was $7.25. But I'll go ahead and open it now on camera because I have a feeling there's going to be many photographs in here. It's kind of heavy, but I can manage. So let's see. The first thing it opens to is Idaho. Yeah, it's kind of unwieldy to hold up, but this is like just the first thing. And I'll also show you more of the cover here. And then the back has the steamboat. Yeah, this is the one that I just like endlessly flip through. There's lots of illustrations and ads. The way they crossed the isthmus. This is in a satirical view of the different difficulties of crossing the Isthmus of Panama during the early days of the California Gold Rush. Okay. So yeah, there's all sorts of there's magazine and newspaper clippings and all sorts of things. This will be fun to flip through and maybe read for sure something that's like a kind of like a coffee table book. This one, and then okay, one bag down, and then one more to go. So some of these I don't have any bookmarks for. So I found 3 Sweet Valley books, and I'm trying to collect the books that aren't on Kindle. I read these as a kid, and I owned quite a few of these, but I found 2 of the Sweet Valley University books by Francine Pascal, books number 1 and 7. I was very happy to find number 1. It's a little bit worn here. These are old. These came out in 93. So I was happy to find it in general. So there's the first one. And then this one is Goodbye to Love. So these are like high school drama books. And I read these when I was in high school. And then the other one I have is a Jessica's Secret Diary. And this was when there was a TV show. And so I thought it was the coolest thing when they had their diaries. I think Elizabeth and Jessica were the 2 twins, and the main characters, and each of them had 3 or 4 diaries, and so this was one of them. So I got those 3, and let's see here. And I have this book. Is there any bookmark or anything in here where I got it? Oh yeah, yes, there is. Okay, so this one was from the Book Exchange in Manteca, California. There's no pretty illustrations or anything, but I'm trying to remember what that store looked like. So I'm trying to give you some along with the books to give you some reviews. I think I got away from that. I did it for the first couple of bookstores, but then didn't for the other ones. But yeah, I can't remember. It was kind of all a blur at that point. Homestead Kid: True Stories of Homestead Life Deep in the Alaskan Interior by Cherry Curtis. Oh wait, now that I'm saying this, I'm visualizing the bookstore. This is one that was small and a little bit messy because it was kind of annoying because there's one, it's the kind where there's books piled up on the floor and overflowing the bookcases to the point where they're all piled like this, instead of this way. And so it's hard to grab anything or see anything behind it. So yeah, I remember this one being a little bit annoying actually to browse. But they had, some selection there with lots of books. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I remember when this one came from. Let's see if I can find the first couple books, because this book's where I went to gave me a free book along with my purchases. Let me see if I can find the name of it. This is one another one where I went. Wrestling the bag here. No, there's no bookmark. But this is another one I went to in Cottage Grove. The first one was the one that gave me the postcard, and this one was another cute store. And the woman was very nice. I couldn't make the art show that was happening that night, but she gave me I walked in and she's like, "Oh, do you want some cake?" And I'm like, "Sure." So she had made fresh almond tea cake, and it was and then she because I came early, I didn't know this was what was happening. She showed me the artwork that the local artist was coming into, and she shared a wall with a restaurant that was right beside her. And so we went through the door and she was showing me the artwork in that one and the artist that was coming in, and it was a very delightful and memorable experience. And I found several books in this bookstore. And again, it's the same thing as one of the other ones where I just went to one little area to browse because I didn't have a lot of time, but I did find several books there. And so I have Dream Chasers of the West, a Homestead Family of Glacier Park by B.L. Wellston. Again, you can see a theme here, what I will easily pick up, Western pioneer frontier kind of stories. And this is about a woman who moves to the American West. It's 1913, unmarried and alone at the age of 30. Clara left Minnesota and headed to Montana to file a homestead on the free land that was there in Glacier National Park area. And then, okay, this is the one I was very happy to find. Journey into Submarine by Edwin Way Teale. This will complete my his season quartet. I've read this one. This was the only one I could find that's available on ebook. So it's the first one I read of the series, but I didn't own it, and it has the dust jacket and the plastic covering. So I was super excited to find this one. Here's the author on the back. He's probably one of the more famous nature writers. And then I have Remembering Main Street by Pat Ross, an American album. And I thought this would be a cute, again, coffee table kind of book where I can just like flip through and see some cute, small towns. And so there's lots of little pictures here and on the cover. And it highlights a couple. Yeah, all the ones that have stars are the ones that it highlights. Oh, it actually highlights. I'm just looking now because I didn't, go in depth in studying these books before I did do a little bit of, looking into them, but not that much. And so this one actually features Grass Valley in California, which is one of my favorite towns in California to visit. It has a lot of Western storefront. Those as you like a lot of the little streets have the fake fronts. Where they look like two stories, but they're one, and yeah, lots of history there. Anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail of where they are, but there's some hometowns on the East Coast. It features Wickford, Rhode Island, Great Barrington, Massachusetts, Oberlin, Ohio, Cedarburg, Wisconsin, Lexington, Virginia, and Sheridan, Wyoming. That's another town. I traveled there 2 summers ago, and it was really nice. I remember that in Sheridan, it just sticks in my mind. Everything I think of that name now, I think of, it was like the last day of an ice cream shop being open before the summer ended, and they were giving like endless scoops of ice cream. Like you could get a giant, like kids were getting like 5 scoops on this little cone, and everything was $1 because they were just trying to use up their stock. And so I remember standing in a line and getting like gigantic ice cream cones. So it's like one of those like funny memories. And then because I purchased any book, she's like, oh, you can get a free book. There was no like money value I had to hit before I got a free one, so that was cool. So I got a Reader's Digest book, America's Fascinating Indian Heritage, the First Americans, Their Customs, Art, History, and How They Lived. This is an older book, and it's a little bit worn, but yeah, I don't mind that. It's easily fixable, and for free I couldn't pass it up. So here's the front cover here, and another book where I'm just gonna go through it. There's tons and tons of pictures and maps about the different regions and different cultures, and so yeah, this will be a very informative book. Let me see when it came out because I'm curious. Like even some of the pages, or like even though they're glossy, they're a little bit aged and worn. So let me see. Came out in 1978. Okay, so just a few more. I looked in some little free libraries along the way, so I got 4 little free library books. Strawberry Hill by Mary Ann Hoberman. Yeah, Hoberman. And it's a ex-library copy, but I didn't mind it too much, it being free and all. But what I thought was interesting is this is the author's debut fiction, and she, has more than 40 children's picture books and has been writing poetry for 50 years. And so that really intrigued me. And this is based on her real life of moving to a small town, and this girl moves to Strawberry Hill, and it's like starting your life over and making friends. And so yeah, anything that has it used to be a poet, or still a poet, but then writes books. I always like the writing style most of the time, unless they're too flowery, but we'll see what I think of that one. Snow Treasure by Marie McSwiggan. And this one, it looked very old, but also when I opened up the very first page, it says that this is based on real life. It says, this story really happened. On June 28, 1940, the Norwegian freighter Buma reached Baltimore with a cargo of gold, bullion worth $9 million. When the ship's captain asked for a police escort while unloading the bullion gold, a strange story came to light. The gold, it was learned, had been slipped past Nazi sentries by Norwegian boys and girls, like young boys and girls. And under the very eyes of the enemy, these children had pulled the gold on their sleds to a freighter hidden in a fjord off Norway's coast. So yeah, it's like all about the brave young kids that had evaded the Nazis. So that was very, very intriguing. And I don't know if it's a children's story or if it's like a little mini history of this. But this came out in 1942. But yeah, it's a children's story. Yes, but based on like a historical fiction. That was very interesting. Then I have an advanced reader's copy of a children's book. But this is what caught my eye was that it is a Newbery Honor author. And this is Snowed In with Grandmother Silk by Carol Thinner. And excuse me. And this is all about a grandmother who has her own interests. She loves high heels and theater, but doesn't like any noise. And then she gets put together with her grandson who loves trucks and computer games and playing outside. She's into the older and the much younger generation, getting together and getting to know each other. And then the last little free library book I got was Run for Your Life by Barbara Holland. This is another older book, but this is about, let's see, are the strangers really Polly's aunt and uncle? Because it's talking about how she thinks her and her brother have been kidnapped. And then they're hidden away in a lonely farmhouse miles from their house. And will their parents raise enough money to get them out of this place and meet the ransom? So it's kind of like a bizarre story, but I was like, we'll see how it goes. And the older cover is what drew me in. And let's see, when did this one come out? 1979. So yeah, we'll see what I think of this one. Then just a couple more books. Let's see. For this one, I went to the Humane Society of the Sierra Foothills in Auburn, California. And this is one of my favorite places to go. They recently moved, but everything in their store is between $1 and $2. And they have, and all the money goes to the local Humane Society, and it's all run by volunteers, and they have quite a bit of stock. Except it's not a tiny place at all, by no means. But the place that they moved to, they have just started stocking their shelves, and so I came right before they closed, so I didn't want to inconvenience them at all. So for this store, I didn't go to any of my normal stopping points. I actually went to the cookbooks, which was the closest shelves near the door, and so I got a Martha Stewart cookbook. And Martha Stewart isn't someone I know much about. I just feel like I know that she's very picky about how she likes things. I feel like, but yeah, it's not. I know she had cooking shows and housework. I don't know. I feel like she had a TV show way back when, but I never watched or anything. I've heard of her name. So why not get one of her cookbooks and see? It doesn't have the dust jacket, but for $1, I was like, yeah, why not? See how she writes her recipes, and maybe I can find a new favorite recipe. And then this last book, does this one have a dust jacket? I mean, I have a bookmark. No. But I think this one I got in Redding, California, and I want to say the bookstore is called Cal's Bookstores or Cal's Books. It's a little bit outside of Redding, and it's an interesting way to get there because it is in a warehouse garage looking area, and in order to get there, you have to drive through these garage fronts. It looks like a mechanic shop, and then right beside that is this bookstore that's again literally has a pull down garage door, but inside it's chock full of books. And even though it has a lot to look at, I went to and got this one. A lot of the books seem to have been sitting there for quite a while because they were dusty and grimy. But he did have a lot of books to look at. So this one is The Oregon Desert by E.R. Jackman and R.A. Long. And this cover is, sorry for the glare. The sun is just beaming through on these windows. And here is the author and the two authors. Is there any illustrations in this one? Yeah, there are some. This is the Sage Grouse. Yeah, this has the glossy pages, so it is a heavier book because it's full of even some colored pictures as well as the black and white. So it's heavier and a little bit unwieldy, but it's still manageable. I can hold it in my hand and not get too annoyed with it. But this is all about the Oregon Desert. I have wanted to make my way out east into Oregon. I've gone, I've done the River Gorge route that follows east to west on the north part of Oregon, but I haven't gone into the interior of Oregon. And I had initially planned to a couple months ago, but it's desert there and it gets cold and snowy, so I backed out at the last minute, but I want to find the right time, because like now I'm sure it's gonna be very, very hot in the summer, so I need to find like maybe like the fall and the spring sometime to make my way over. But yeah, I don't know, something about this cover is just very eye catching. Okay, so those are all of the books I purchased on my 2.5 week trip. Yeah, I don't mention, like, I haven't been able to, I wasn't able to watch any Booktube really, or make any videos myself, but I did do a live show with Angie over at Angie's Great World. We featured the first book in the John Belair series, and we're looking forward to continuing on with it. And we're doing one book a month, so it was great fun to chat with her while out and about, and managed to sit down for a bit and get that do that live show, which was very fun. But anyway, I will talk to you soon. Thanks, Booktube.